If your surname is on this list, you're not just English by heritage. You're descended from people whose names were evidence, written onto a king's warrant, missing from a parish register, spelled 4 different ways by clerks who never asked. Most families carrying these names were handed a proud story about 1620. They were never told what the name was hiding when it walked up that gangway. Stay until number 1, because that name carries a secret one family kept buried for 339 years, and it's still being spelled out over the phone today. Number 10, Brewster, a trade name. The brewer, the one who kept the house supplied. Nothing in it suggests a fugitive, but in 1607, the Scrooby congregation hired a boat at Scotia Creek to slip out of England, and leaving without a license was a crime. The captain betrayed them. They were searched, stripped of everything, paraded through Boston, and held in the Guildhall cells. 12 years later, in Leiden, William Brewster printed a book attacking the King's Church policy. His partner was arrested. His type was seized. Brewster vanished for 2 years and boarded the Mayflower still wanted. That name went aboard belonging to a man who couldn't safely answer to it. The next name wasn't hiding from anyone. It had already been sentenced to death. Number 9, Hopkins, son of Hob, a nickname for Robert, about as ordinary as an English surname gets. In 1609, a Stephen Hopkins was wrecked in Bermuda aboard the Sea Venture, argued that the governor held no authority over men standing on dry land, and was convicted of mutiny. The sentence was death. He was pardoned only after pleading the ruin of his wife and children. Researchers widely accept, without fully proving, that this is the same man who crossed again in 1620. If it is, he boarded that ship, having already stood in front of a gallows, and went anyway. He knew exactly who he was. The next name still doesn't. Number 8, Alden, from the Old English Ealdwine, meaning old friend. A strange thing to call a man nobody can identify. John Alden was hired at Southampton as the ship's cooper and was free to sail home when the work ended. He stayed. 400 years of research have failed to produce his parents, his birthplace, or a single record of him before that voyage. He may have more living descendants than any other passenger. Millions of family trees run back through him and stop dead at a gangway in 1620. Nobody ever filled in Alden's blank. The next names got filled in twice, and both times it was a lie. Number 7, Doty, probably from Doughty, meaning bold, hardy. It suited him. Edward Doty crossed as a servant, fought the colony's first duel in 1621 with sword and dagger, and spent decades in court. But look at how Plymouth's own clerks wrote him down. Doton, Doday, Dolton, Doughty. One man, 4 surnames inside a single decade. Generations later, 2 baptism records surfaced, giving him a tidy English birth, and in 1988, both were exposed as fabrications. Somebody invented an origin for him because the real one was missing. If this is landing for you, take 5 seconds. Like, subscribe. 6 names left, and they get heavier from here. Stay for number 1. That's the one with a reason nobody could explain for 3 centuries. Number 6, Warren, a Norman name carried into England by conquest. Richard Warren boarded as a London merchant, not a religious exile, and nothing ever explained why a comfortable man of business gambled everything on that ship. For nearly 4 centuries, his origins were unknown, and that vacuum filled with confident, published ancestries supported by nothing. Then in December 2002, a researcher found a 1613 will naming Elizabeth Warren and her 3 small daughters, the same names, in the same order as the passengers. One document, 400 years late. His parents are still unknown. That silence eventually got filled with evidence. The next one got filled with a story, and people believed it for 200 years. Number 5, Mullins. This is where the list turns. For generations, the name came with a romantic origin, Mullins, a French Huguenot family who anglicized themselves in England. Some versions add royal blood. None of it holds. The documented William Mullins was a shoemaker in Dorking who carried 250 pairs of shoes to a country with no roads. And the real story is quieter. In 1616, the Privy Council issued a warrant to bring him in. His marriage isn't in the Dorking register, neither are his children's baptisms. For a dissenter, that absence wasn't carelessness. The gap was the point. One name had an origin invented for it. The next had a real foreign origin and lost it anyway. Number 4. Cooke, the plainest surname in England. It enters the record as Francois Cooke, written into the Walloon Church Register in Leiden in 1603, a woolcomber said to have come out of England. He married Hester Le Mahieu, daughter of refugees who'd fled Lille for Canterbury, then London, then Holland. His own parents have never been identified, and some researchers doubt he was English at all. His wife took communion at Plymouth as a Walloon until the end of her life. The name that survived is the English one. That name got translated on the crossing. The next may have been swapped outright. Number 3, Soule, officially unknown. The strongest English candidate anyone has offered is a baptism at Tingryth in Bedfordshire, and it's never been proven. There's a competing theory, and it's disputed, that George Soule was the son of Protestant refugees Jan Soule and Macon Labus, younger brother of a Leiden printer who died during the presswork on that same banned book, and that Soule became Soule, while the printer's people cross-listed as household servants. Nobody's proved it. What isn't in dispute, millions descend from a man with no confirmed parents. Soule's page is blank. The next name's page was torn out. Number 2, Standish, a Lancashire place name, Stony Pasture. Myles Standish arrived in New England already knowing what he'd lost. His will lists Ormskirk, Burskaw, Croston, and land on the Isle of Man as his by lawful descent, then adds that they were surreptitiously detained from him. No record of his birth has ever been found, and the page covering those years in the Corley Parish Register is defaced. That it was deliberate is surmise, not proof. But he named his house in Massachusetts Duxbury, after the estate he was written out of. He at least knew what his name was owed. The 4 children at number 1 were told nothing. Number 1, More. 4 children, Ellen, Jasper, Richard, and Mary, baptized at Shipton in Shropshire under the surname of a man who would later swear in court they weren't his. Samuel More had married his cousin Catherine at 17 to keep 2 estates intact. By 1616, he was accusing her of adultery with a tenant, Jacob Blakeway. She didn't deny it. She said she'd been promised to Blakeway first. Samuel won, and then had all 4 children taken to London and put aboard the Mayflower as indentured servants, split between 3 separate households, without their mother's knowledge. Ellen, Jasper, and Mary were dead within months. Richard survived. He married, moved to Salem, went to sea, and carried a surname that had been formally disowned. There's no clean villain in it. Samuel, though, was young, humiliated, acting on his father's instruction. And nobody could explain any of it until 1959, when a descendant climbed into his own attic and found the sworn deposition. 339 years. Every name here outlived the reason it was dangerous, and then outlived the explanation. Somewhere tonight, someone is at a kitchen table with a laptop open, typing a surname into a Mayflower database, finding it spelled 2 different ways in the same century by the same hand. They'll assume it's an error. It's the exact moment a family became harder to trace, and somebody kept going anyway. If your surname is on this list, it didn't reach you by accident. It came through a warrant, a missing page, a court case, a winter that killed half the ship. And somewhere, a child is learning to spell it out loud, letter by letter, for someone who's never heard it. The same act 400 years on, in a room where nothing depends on it anymore. Drop your surname in the comments below. I want to know which one you carry, and which entry hit closest. The name that was hidden, the name that was lost, or the name somebody else filled in for you.